Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the last lap. My name is Jimmy, and today we are recapping the first race of the 2022 NASCAR season, the LA Clash. We're going to talk about everything that happened over the weekend. But before you hop into it, I just want to remind you guys to hit that subscribe button and that like button. It really does help our channel grow, and you can also check us out on our social media page at The Last Lap News on Instagram. And without further ado, I always have to introduce my friend and co-host Matthew, joining me from Liberty as always. And safe to say, the Clash didn't turn out for either of us too well. Neither of our drivers won, but it is what it is. It was an exhibition race. It was a good start to the season. Clash, I think, was a very good race. NASCAR did a great job. But Matthew, go ahead and tell me how you're doing and how it feels to get the first race of the season going and get the whole season in general underway.
Well, first of all, I'm doing good. How about you? And second of all, it's that was a great race, man. Probably one of the best Clash races I've seen in a while. I don't think it was the best Clash race. I don't think anything could top the 2012 Clash race, but yeah, that was definitely one of the best Clash races in my opinion. The environment was amazing, all the celebrities that were there. And that was amazing short track racing. So, yeah, that was I'm genuinely impressed with that race, and I hope to see it more in the future.
Yeah, it was very well executed on NASCAR's part. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk about like the whole weekend setup. Like I'm gonna talk about everything that happened on Saturday first, and then quickly go over the heat races and the last chance qualifiers, and then I'll let you kind of talk about that, and then we'll talk about the main event in general after that. So we'll go ahead and hop into what Saturday looked like. I'm just going to quickly go over it. Saturday was basically practicing single car qualifying. Each team or each car was separated into 3 different groups. They went out and did practice, and I like how they set up the format for practice. I just wish they had a little bit more time than 8 minutes per session, because that was only 24 minutes total for the cars on track. I wish it was probably 10 or 15 minutes per session, but just because during the actual race today, they went probably 40 or 50 laps straight without a caution. So, it would have been nice for them to be able to figure out what the car would have done over a really long run, but it's okay. It is what it is. It was still good how they executed it. I think just because the Coliseum being so small, getting cars in and out of that track is difficult. So I think they did a good job with all of that. Saturday night was qualifying, which was very interesting because the track was very slick, and a lot of drivers had a hard time getting their tires warmed up. Kurt Busch was the first driver out, and he absolutely struggled. I feel bad for him that he was the first driver out, because that cost him a very bad starting position for his heat race. But yeah, other than that, Kyle Busch got the pole. He was fast all weekend. Chase Elliott was pretty fast too. He was fastest in practice, but he qualified 7th, I think. But yeah, the big thing that stood out to me was the underdog teams. Like Daniel Suarez, he was fast. He qualified well. Trying to think of other drivers. Chase Briscoe was pretty fast. He didn't qualify that well, but he was fast.
Justin Haley.
Who else have to cover? Yeah, Justin Haley, he was really fast. Allmendinger wasn't as fast as Haley, but he still showed some speed, which is good. The Rick Ware Racing they were faster than usual. I'll give them that. They were able to keep pace with the field for the most part. So that was good to see. That was pretty much it for Saturday. Sunday, the day we're recording this, the day of the race, they did the heat races first. They did 4 of those, and most of those were average. Like, they weren't amazing, but they weren't terrible. There was one of the heat races, I think it was the first or the second one, that got a little bit intense. There were 1 or 2 cautions in that one. But man, the main, I think
that was the last heat.
What?
That was the last heat race that there was actually a caution.
Okay, the last heat race, I think the first one was pretty good too. But the first one and the last one were pretty good. The second and third one were okay. But the main action of the night started. I think the best racing of the night was during the last chance qualifiers, especially the second one. But really quick in the first one, Eric Almirola got wrecked by Todd Gilliland pretty early into his chances. At the end of that one, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, and AJ Allmendinger ended up making it. AJ Allmendinger passed Ross Chastain fairly late in that to take that final spot in the main event. And wait, there were four. Yeah, yes, that's right. AJ also held off Cody Ware, who was actually making a charge. He almost got to Allmendinger and passed him and made his way into the clash. Kurt ended up missing the cut, unfortunately. That was pretty much there were a few more big names in the second one that didn't make it, but he was the first big name to not make it to the clash, which is very interesting. And it all started with qualifying, unfortunately. He had a very bad draw in qualifying, but...
Well, Kurt Busch was in the second heat,
was he
not
in
the first
Oh, he's
heat.
in the second one? Oh. Well, he missed it anyways in the second one. The second one is where all the action... Oh, yeah, he was in the second one, because... Yeah, okay. There were several cautions in the second last chance qualifier. I couldn't count how many there were. There were probably 5, 6, 7, maybe even more than that. And caution laps didn't count, so that's why there were so many cautions, because caution laps didn't count, which I love. I love that format. That was for the heat races, last chance qualifiers, and the main event, which is great. They definitely need to continue with that in the future. There was, Kurt Busch, he got in an accident. Bowman, he got in an accident. Cindric, he got in an accident. 3 big names right there. They all got in wrecks and pretty much cost them a chance at winning. Harrison Burton, Ryan Preece, and Bubba ended up making it. But Ty Dillon screwed this over twice. He jumped the restart 2 times. Once when he was on the outside, he accelerated before the leader did. And then once when he was in the lead, he accelerated before he even got to the restart zone. So Ty Dillon absolutely screwed himself twice. He should have been in the actual clash, but unfortunately he had 2 restart violations, and that cost him a chance at participating in the actual clash. Brad Keselowski, he didn't make it. I already mentioned that Cindric didn't make it, so a lot of big names like Brad Keselowski, Austin Cindric, Kurt Busch, Eric Almirola, a lot of big names did not make the main event. Alex Bowman, he didn't make it either. So lots of big names, and after what both of us saw in practice and qualifying, and during the heat races, neither of us were really surprised that some big names missed it, because people, like I said earlier, Justin Haley, AJ Allmendinger, Chase Briscoe, all these other lower funded teams and not as good of drivers were performing well. So it wasn't really a big surprise for us to see some of these underdog quote-unquote drivers make the field and end up racing in the main event. So Matthew, go ahead and tell me what you think about how NASCAR handled the whole practice and qualifying thing on Saturday, and what you thought of the heat races and the last chance qualifiers.
Well, I think they handled practice and qualifying just perfect, especially with the groups. We don't want too many cars on the racetrack, so I feel like that was a great way to spread everyone out and not, crowd the whole track with all 36 cars on the track. But I think they did great on that. Qualifying, it was great as usual. I mean, just single car runs, 2 laps. That's perfect. As for the heat races itself, a lot of them were calm for the most part. Like, there were a couple heat races when things were starting to pick up the intensity a little bit, but other than that, it was mostly just the first 4 cars like pulling away from the rest of the pack. I feel like so. That was the heat races in a nutshell. And the best racing was, of course, the last chance qualifiers. I knew before this weekend that the last chance qualifiers were going to be the best racing of the weekend, because I mean it's going to be people are going to be being intense, but trying to get the those last spots in, and they didn't disappoint at all. And especially the second heat race, things were picking up the intensity. I mean, it was crazy. Caution after caution. Nope, people were just moving people out of the way, and it was great. I mean, I feel bad for Kurt Busch, but how about this? The second heat race, Ty Dillon was literally a bulldozer the whole entire race. It seemed like he was always causing a caution. I mean, he's always in the mix when someone's spinning out, it seems like. and then proceeds to mess up on the research twice and doesn't even advance, even though he technically won the race that heat race. But with but the big, I mean, how about this? Ryan Preece was able to make it into the clash in a Rick Ware racing car. So he finished second, but with Ty Dillon being DQ'd basically, Ryan Preece technically won the last chance race. A Rick Ware racing car actually won something. Can you believe that? Hey, that's these new cars. I think they're doing what they're supposed to do, even the playing field. I feel like it was the Gen 6 cars, even with Priest in that car, I don't think they would be that good. So huge props to that. And yeah, other than that, the last chance qualifiers were, in my opinion, the best race of the night.
Yeah, that second last chance qualifier, that was something. That was very intense, a lot of cautions, and Ty Dillon just a little too aggressive, ended up costing him a chance of racing in the main event. And yeah, big props to Ryan Preece in racing in that Rick Ware racing car to be able to race his way in, finishing second, technically winning the heat to make his way in. But we're going to hop into the main event now. It was 150 laps split in half. The pre-race obviously had Pitbull do a concert. That was pretty cool to see him get the crowd amped up. So I'm very happy for that.
I wish they showed more of it, though. I mean, they showed a lot of Ice Cube in the halftime show, but come on, let's get more Pitbull out.
I'm not the biggest party guy in the world, but you are quite the opposite. So I'm sure you were quite excited. Me, on the other hand, I was like, yeah, cool. It's a party. So
come on.
Anyways,
man.
that was cool to see. It was cool to see because it got the crowd into it, got them all hyped up, and Ice Cube did as well at halftime. But hopping into the actual race, there's a caution. I want to say it was 20 or 30 laps into the race, but unfortunately. Oh yeah, it's for I almost said Ricky Spinhouse. Oh my gosh! Wow.
Come on, man. I'm sorry, Stenhouse fans. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Stenhouse. I did not mean to accidentally almost roast you, but Ricky Stenhouse got spun, and that brought out a caution. And under that caution, 3 cars had to come to pit road for issues. First, I believe it was Denny Hamlin. He had an issue first. And then Chase Briscoe had an issue on the track, and then Tyler Reddick had an issue. All 3 of those cars had some type of mechanical issue. Each one was different, I think, but each one had a mechanical failure, and they had to come to pit road and end their day, which was very weird that all of that happened under one caution. But definitely not the best sign in the world to see that happening. Obviously, it's because of the next-gen car, and teams are going to have to figure out some things as they go along. Hopefully, they address most of these things this weekend before some point-spanning races come up. But definitely unfortunate because Tyler Reddick, he was out in front battling with Kyle Busch and up until that caution. He was leading some laps and had a very fast car. I feel very bad for him. He was looking very strong. He had a chance to easily win this race. But Kyle Busch and Joey Logano, after that, they were easily the 2 fastest cars. They would go back and forth. Logano gave Kyle Busch quite a shot in the back bumper going into turn 3 and passed him, quote unquote, but apparently he passed him after the caution for halfway came out, so Kyle Busch was able to retain the lead. But after halfway, I was like, this is going to be between Kyle Busch and Joey Logano unless a late race restart happens, because those two, they were just clearly way faster than everybody else. In the second half, so Justin Haley got bumped by William Byron, and that sent him into Kyle Larson, and Kyle Larson was not happy with that. So on the front stretch, he retaliated and shoved Haley into the inside wall. And that was a bit surprising. I did not expect Kyle Larson to react like that, especially the defending Cup Series champion. But, I mean, he's been racing all off-season, so I'm sure he's had his ups and downs and is never really out of that race mode. So that was a bit surprising. Ended Justin Haley's day right there. He clearly was not happy. Ryan Blaney got spun by Eric Jones, and he wasn't happy. He threw his Hans de Vries out onto the racetrack, kind of almost mimicking Tony Stewart a few years ago at Bristol, almost. But Stewart threw his entire helmet. But yeah, so that was another tempered moment. And after that caution for Justin Haley, the race surprisingly went green to the end, and the caution came out. Joey Logano was barely ahead of Kyle Busch. I wish they would have shown the replay to show how close it was, because that's what ended up deciding this race. But Joey Logano was apparently ahead of Kyle Busch when the caution came out. So Logano obviously got to choose the inside lane. Kyle Busch, I believe, chose the outside lane on that restart after that.
No, inside lane.
Oh, yeah, he did choose the inside lane. Sorry. So Kyle Busch chose the inside lane behind Logano. And Logano got a pretty good jump. And Kyle Busch and Larson kind of battled it out for a little bit. That's probably what held Kyle Busch up just a little bit, because I think Kyle was a little bit better on the short run. But as the run went on, I think Logano just got a little bit better. But as soon as Logano got out in front and Kyle Larson was between him and Kyle Busch, I think that's what allowed Logano to pull away. Kyle Busch, he didn't go away, though. He closed a little bit at the end there. Just couldn't quite get to Logano's back bumper to repay the favor that Logano gave him earlier in the race. But Joey Logano would win the inaugural clash at the LA Coliseum, and it was a great race. The main event didn't live up to the action of the second last chance qualifier, but I really didn't expect that, because the last chance qualifier was just that was a completely different animal. But just a few cautions. Oh, I forgot to mention what happened to my driver, Chase Elliott, of course. So he drove into turn 3 and just locked up the front tire and tried to turn the car, and it wouldn't. Well, I guess it turned a little too much, because he spun out going into turn 3. Unfortunately, I think he rebounded to finish 11th or 12th or something like that. But Joey Logano wins the inaugural race at the Clash. Him and Kyle Busch, great battle between those two. I'm sure we'll see a lot more of that this season. Great debut for the next gen car, in my opinion, as well. But Matthew, go ahead and tell me what you thought about the entire race in general. I know you're a little bit upset with the outcome, but still a great race regardless, and I think it showed a lot of balance between all the manufacturers, because granted, Kyle Busch and Logano were at the top of the field, but there were a bunch of Chevys up there too, so go ahead and tell me what you think.
Well, in my opinion, this was definitely one of the best Clash races that we have had, and I definitely enjoyed the racing out there. It was while it wasn't as crazy as the last chance qualifiers. I mean, I preferred what we had at the Clash show, because last chance qualifiers were all just young drivers who don't use their heads and just dive on the corner and just wreck people. So I'm glad we saw a little more, I guess a little more clean short track racing, if there's such a thing as that. But yeah, it was a great race overall. I don't understand why Logano decided to bump us out of the way for the halftime. I mean, it's not the end of the race, it's halftime. Chill. But that's Logano. That's how he drives. But the performances with Pitbull and Ice Cube were awesome. I enjoyed both of them. Of course, I know Jimmy's not really much of a party person, but I enjoyed it a lot. But yeah, the second half of this race was when things started picking up with, of course, Ryan Blaney, Eric Jones getting together, and Blaney doing his best Denny Hamlin impression back in 2014 when he threw his Hans device at Harvick that time. So they didn't show that. I wish they did, but I guess they didn't get it on camera. But that would have been funny to see in person. And then Justin Haley and Larson, there's a feud there. Of course, I'm sure Larson's going to look back on video and see Byron was the one that hit Haley, then hit Larson. But, of course, when you're in the moment, you think the guy just ran the back of you, so you're just going to, not give any room, and that's what he did. And sent Haley to the concrete walls, basically. Which, we don't expect to see Larson do that often. I mean, he doesn't really pull those type of moves, so that was interesting. And other than that, it was between Logano and Busch, and that was tough to watch, because for me, I feel like we had I felt like all weekend long we had the best car. We were on the pole, we led the most laps, and just to come up that short, it's tough. Now we gotta wait 2 long weeks to to avenge that, which will be the Daytona 500. So, but other than that, it was an amazing race, and what a great way to start. Great way to start off the season with a bang.
Yeah, go ahead and also tell me what you think about Tyler Reddick, Denny Hamlin, and Chase Briscoe having those issues during that first caution. Go ahead and tell me what you think about that real quick.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Those apparently they had some sort of mechanical failures, and of course people are going to start panicking about it. Like, oh, the next gen car is a failure now. Look, all those parts breaking. If it was, everybody would have had a mechanical failure, but nobody, everybody else was fine after that. But yeah, it's a brand new car. Compared to like the car tomorrow, the Generation 6, there are way more new stuff on this car than any other generation of stock cars. So I expect there's gonna be some bugs, that teams are gonna have to adjust to, and it'll be corrected over time. I mean, it's a brand new car. It's always gonna, just like everything new, there's gonna be some bugs, and you're just gonna work it out. So it'll be fine. But yeah, it was strange. It was happening all at one time. So that was a little weird, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the next gen car was perfect. Besides those few mechanical errors, the way the cars, they can beat and bang with each other, I absolutely love that. Those composite bodies are 10 out of 10 because there's a lot of bumping and banging, and that's what we love to see at short tracks. And with the Gen 6 car, you would get a lot of tire rubs with that and cut down tires, but drivers are now be able to actually beat and bang and be able to get away with it. So I'm looking forward to, Martinsville, maybe Richmond, but
I mean, out of all the wrecks that we've had, I only seen like one that when someone actually cut a tire, basically, out of all the wrecks we had, all the bumping and banging we had.
Yeah, but it's going to be great to be able to see these next-gen cars at the short tracks and road courses like Martinsville, Richmond, Bristol, all the road courses. They'll be able to beat and bang a little bit more, which will hopefully lead to some more exciting racing. And even though, last year was incredible at Martinsville, we were both there for that. But hopefully we can see more of that in the future. But yeah, the next-gen car is going to have its issues, and there's a lot of new changes to it. And to give NASCAR credit, I think most, if not all, of the next-gen cars, they look great on track. With the whole number thing and all of that. I think teams mostly did a good job with the paint schemes, the new designs, some tiny adjustments to some, like Kyle Larson's. His is pretty similar, but I think most teams did a good job with the whole number placement and everything. And yeah, I know it's just a position of the number, but I think teams did a good job handling it. Most of the cars look pretty good on track, so no complaints from me on that. But let me quickly go over the top 10 with you guys. The results will be over here. So Joey Logano obviously wins the race. Kyle Busch finished second. Austin Dillon finished third, and Eric Jones fourth. Very good runs for those guys after Eric Jones had his little incident with Ryan Blaney. Fifth and sixth go to Kyle Larson and William Byron. Seventh goes to Cole Custer. Eighth goes to Christopher Bell. Ninth, AJ Allmendinger. Great run for him. Kevin Harvick rounds out the top 10. So lots of variety there in that top 10 list. Hopefully that can continue throughout the season. We can get some of these lower funded teams like, Austin Dillon is not an underfunded team, just not, that top tier driver. But guys like Eric Jones, Cole Custer, AJ Allmendinger, Justin Haley, all these guys, hopefully we can see more of them near the front throughout this season. So, Matthew, do you have any closing thoughts before we go ahead and wrap the episode up? I know it's been a while since we've done one of these race reviews, so hopefully we can
rate the race first.
Yeah.
You're rusty.
There you go. See, like I just said, it's been a while since we've done one of these race reviews. It's been since November, so Matthew already keeping me on track. I like it. So, for me to rate this race, I'm gonna rate everything in general. The heat races, the LCQs, the actual event. I'm going to rate everything that happened on Sunday combined, and I think I'm gonna give it an 8 because I think it was very solid. The heats, the format of those was great. I wish the heats were a little bit longer. 25 laps seemed to go just like that. The 50 lap LCQs were a good length. Maybe those could have been a tiny bit longer. But I loved how that was all laid out in the main event itself was very good. The performance of the next gen car was good. They could beat and bang. It was pretty hectic and pretty dramatic race throughout, and we had a good battle between Joey Logano and Kyle Busch throughout the whole race, and deserving winner. So I'm gonna give it a solid 8 out of 10 for the inaugural Clash. I definitely think that NASCAR should consider either coming back here in the future or going somewhere else to a very small track or something like that. I believe that they were considering doing something like this depending on the outcome, and I think it was a great outcome. So hopefully we can see more of that in the future. So Matthew, go ahead and give me your rating of the race itself.
For me, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I thought it was a very great weekend, a great experience at Los Angeles. The heat races were decent. The last chance qualifiers were obviously the best races of the day. And the Clash was a very great race. So I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. I hope to see this track back on the Clash schedule for years to come. And maybe we'll do another one of these type of races for like the All-Star race, like maybe Soldier Field at Chicago, or maybe one of the football fields in New York City or nearby New York. So that's my take. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
I wish it, I know this is impossible with 38 or 40 cars, but I wish that this could be a points race, but just with that many cars, there's just no way. Like, there were 23 cars on the track today. It has to be
a Clash or an All-Star race.
Yeah, there were 23 cars on the track today, and I think that was pretty much the perfect amount. Maybe a tad bit too much. It took the leaders about 15 laps to catch them and start lapping the field. So, as much as I want it to be like a points race, that's probably not going to happen ever, just because 23 cars was more than enough today. But yeah, great event overall. Hopefully they can do something like this for the Clash and or the All-Star race in the future. I know they've experimented with the All-Star race in the past. I hope and pray that they change it from Texas Motor Speedway next year. I have no idea why that's still the way it is. But moving on from that, Matthew, do you have any closing thoughts before we go ahead and wrap the episode up?
It was a great weekend, like I said, and I'm ready for Daytona in a couple weeks.
Yeah, Daytona 500 qualifying is a week from today, a week from when we're recording this, on Super Bowl Sunday. So that'll be cool to watch. Also our fantasy, none of us picked Joey Logano to win, so none of us got a point. But that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this video. We hope you all enjoyed it. The first race of the 2022 NASCAR season with the next-gen car is complete from the LA Coliseum. We got the Daytona 500 coming up next. We're going to start off the season, the real season, with a points-paying race. But stay tuned to our social media throughout the week. We'll try to post some extra content on there if any news comes out. But until next time, we will see you guys in our next video.